Good evening and welcome to Mental Health Matters After Hours. I'm Dr Audrey Tang, my co-host is Judith Crosier, and this is the show where we talk about all things mental health and well-being. Now, a career in performance is hard. There are rejections, there's competition, it's unsociable hours. But for many with creative talent, it's not just about the opportunity to be able to express themselves at their best, but there is a very large dopamine hit of appreciation from an audience that comes back and keeps people doing a job that can be very, very taxing. So, to unpack the issues that performers may be facing and learning what we can do about that, we are speaking with Dr. Maja Jankowska about mental health in the performing arts. Dr. Maja, welcome to Mental Health Matters After Hours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is a really great topic because mental health is an issue for a lot of us, but there are extra pressures in the arts. So what additional needs do performing artists have?
Well, oh gosh, there is plenty. I think performing arts world is such a unique ecosystem,
Yes.
you know, it's just like a pressure cooker. So even though obviously all of us can struggle with mental health issues and it's a big problem, actually performing artists, and I deal with a lot of stage performers, so people who are on stage, they face unique challenges and they have very specific needs. So if I just list them, you know, there is the issue of identity enmeshment, like, you know, me equals, you know, how well I perform may equal my self-worth. Obviously very unsociable hours, which means, you know, difficulty dating or having a family or having friendships outside of the industry. The industry in itself is very unstable, so very underfunded, so people struggle to find jobs. There are not enough jobs, you know. There is this kind of culture of, I call it feast and famine. So you might have a period when you are kind of getting actually quite a lot of jobs, or you are on a semi-permanent contract, and then suddenly you hit nothing, and you go to auditions, and maybe you get like 100 rejections or no's before you get a yes. So that's kind of very tough. There is also physical injuries, and obviously, you know, it's not like if I'm ill or injured, I can't say, oh, I'm not doing a show today. It's very tough. I mean, you can, but it's difficult. There is also this requirement, you know, to be vulnerable, to be open, to go very deep, to show your raw emotions, which is very, very tricky, you know, and there is a big emotional burden there. But at the same time, the industry expects you to be tough, to be resilient, to have thick skin, to go through all those rejections. So there is this kind of inherent contradictions there as well. And then I think a lot of stage performers, especially those who work with the body, like dancers or circus artists, they have a lot of kind of issues around body image and the body, you know. There might be certain needs around kind of eating disorders or body dysmorphia, or just constant pressure to look certain way, and at the same time maybe be rejected because you don't like you don't look like, you know, somebody, whatever somebody imagined.
Yes, that's the thing. So somebody imagined.
Yeah, and I'll come back to it later, I think. And then obviously there is performance anxiety, which is really hugely misunderstood, I think. So in my experience, this type of anxiety actually develops as a result of criticism or humiliation or rejection or some insensitive language used in audition or performance or even rehearsal. So there is that people struggle with. With that also comes, like, because it can be quite triggering or traumatizing when you forget your lines or you forget notes or you freeze in the middle of performance, and then you have extra anxiety going into future performances. What if it happens again, right? And then another aspect that a lot of people maybe don't think about is this post-show slump.
Yes.
when you finish.
Yes, it's been so intense.
It's been intense, and then suddenly you just crash and you don't know what to do with yourself. So a lot of people tend to playing mindlessly some games, or drinking alcohol, or just lying in bed and doing nothing, and and that can be tricky as well.
There's
so quite a lot.
Yeah, God, no. I mean, do you find that artists recognise these issues themselves? Do they recognise they might need some mental health support, or have they almost normalised every single thing that you've said and then just kind of gone with, that's what the world's like and I just have to cope with it?
Well, that's the thing. I think historically speaking, that has been very normalized. Recently, I was on a kind of call with a very famous artist for over 2 hours, and we were talking precisely about this topic. I'm very kind of enthusiastic about it because, he was saying to me, he's now at the other side of the career, transitioning out of it, and he was saying, looking back, this was the norm. You had to suffer, you had to have mental health issues, you had to get depressed, you had to drink or take drugs to just get through all of this. But actually we are seeing a lot of change. So younger artists are much more self-aware. They are aware that actually you can build mental practice, you can build a mental toolkit that kind of helps you throughout the whole career and sustains you. So I think there is increase in awareness, but I think it's tricky because we've had centuries and centuries of people thinking that you have to suffer to be a great artist.
Yeah,
right?
suffer for your art.
Yeah,
it's a phrase.
It's a Van Gogh or Sylvia Plath or many other examples, right? So people subconsciously might kind of hold on to this idea, oh, I need to suffer, I need to harbor my pain.
So I can then
pretty much I shouldn't access therapy or treatment. So I think it's really, really important to actually challenge those ideas and say, you can be healthy, you can be okay, you can focus on your well-being, and you can have a great great career as a performing artist or any artist.
Yeah, that's really important.
Absolutely.
So if people struggle with rejection or, for all those reasons that you mentioned, their mental health is affected by being involved in the arts, why isn't it as simple as saying, well, then don't go into the arts?
Exactly, because most people would, they'll just say, well, leave.
Do something else,
Well, actually, when somebody says this, it makes me really, really cross.
Good.
Because, imagine the situation. If you have, let's say, medical student going into their first lab and they are brilliant, they are able, they are, intellectually very strong, they have all the right elements, and they actually got into medical school, which is tough in the first place, right? And I don't know, they faint at the sight of blood being drawn in the first lab or something like that. Would you then go and say, no, you give up, don't do it?
Well, exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't, right? Because, it would be such a waste for me. So for me, the whole concept of sensitivity to rejection is so fraught, because if you think about it, I mean, Audrey, were you born as a baby sensitive to rejection?
Yeah.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
And you neither were you born with kind of resilience.
Yeah.
These are the things that we learn in the process. So I think for me, specifically in performing arts, it's about the volume of rejection. So you start off, full of optimism, and you go through drama school or music school or whatever it is, conservatoire, and you think everything is grand, right? There might be some stings of rejection, but the stakes are not very high. It's when you go into the profession and suddenly it's like no. You might get hundreds of no's and one yes, and it really kind of chips away and causes you become more and more sensitive, maybe doubt yourself, think about, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with me? Do I need to do something differently? So I think rejection is learned, actually not rejection, sensitivity to rejection, and we become more and more sensitive as the time goes on. But there is good news, because we can obviously build the toolkit and we can become much more resilient. So there are fantastic psychological tools and mental practices that can make you bulletproof performer. really.
Oh, I love that. Love that.
I personally am very passionate about it. So I'm in the process of building a bespoke program. I call it Stage Performer Framework because it's based on evidence-based psychological principles. It will be available online. I'm just dealing with some techie issues. But I think it's just really important to give people access to very specific evidence-based tools rooted in psychological therapies, in modalities that have been well tested, rather than some woo, simple tools that sometimes some coaches or other people use, and which kind of take you through the whole process from the moment of formulation. So understanding really where those problems come from, for me specifically, in my individual case, what sensitized me to certain things. What are the maintaining factors? What keeps my anxiety, for instance, going? And when we have that, when we have that kind of formulation map of the problems, when we know that, we can design specific strategies and techniques to tackle it, and actually equip you with clinically proven tools to become more resilient and not so much focused on just one area, which might be rejection or might be performance anxiety or something else.
Brilliant.
So this is amazing because this feeds into my next question, which was going to be about, is there support available? I mean, we have resident experts. We've got Martina Cornett is a therapist for professional dancers, for example. And Susanna Story is a musician who counsels other musicians within performing arts. But I was going to say, are there other people who support in other areas of performing arts?
It's very specific, the amount of understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, until you told me about those two wonderful ladies, I didn't know. But I also find this to be the cross-sectional problem that we don't know about each other. There is actually quite a lot of us, but we don't really come together, or we come in certain areas, but not enough for me. So obviously there is me as well.
Yes.
But I belong to an organization called British Association of Performing Arts Medicine, and they are a wonderful charity. So there is a directory on their website which you can access, and you can find different professionals there. But if you just click on mental health support I think psychosocial support and mental health support, you will get a list of professionals. So we are counselors, therapists, and psychologists who are vetted, really checked by BAPAM, British Association of Performing Arts Medicine. And last time I checked, there were around 130 of us. So there is quite a lot of us, I think, for the UK. However, not that many psychologists. So I am a clinical psychologist. I'm, HCPC registered. I'm a trauma specialist. So people like me, I think, probably only a handful. But the field is growing, and apart from BAPAM, there are other charities, marvelous charities, like for musicians specifically, Help Musicians UK. There are charities for artists. For instance, when I sometimes take on like one-to-one therapy with a client who is a musician, and they are out of work because they were injured or are unable to work because of mental health issues, the Royal Society of Musicians will fund their therapy, which is amazing. I did do a little video about it, so if money is issue, you can access it. BAPAM itself also funds 6 sessions, but that's just 6 sessions. So I do see a huge gap between one-to-one therapy that is available, but obviously it comes at a cost. And some charitable organizations providing some support, but in my view, often not enough for the performer. They also run educational webinars, but again, they are psychoeducational mainly, so it's like 1 hour or 1.5 hour webinar, and there isn't much kind of space to practice any clinical tools. So I think that's the gap. That's why I'm developing the program that I'm developing, because I think it's really important to bring those two, to provide something that is affordable, accessible anywhere, because obviously artists cannot come to one place at one time. So a lot of those organizations, and when I go to group supervision with them, we talk about how group therapy is very difficult because people have different performance schedules and they can't come together. So I think accessible online option, which is affordable but rooted in psychology and evidence-based methods, is really important. So I think it's growing, and also in training institutions like conservatoires or drama schools, now we have psychologists coming to the workshops, there is training available, but I think, we could do more. So it's growing, but not flourishing yet.
Yeah, no, but I think what you're doing is making a really good start in making that headway.
Yes.
And performing artists are one of those areas, you're right, it's a whole ecosystem unto itself, and you really have to have a professional who understands it. We're keeping Dr. Maja, and we'll be back just after this.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours, where we're talking to Dr. Maja about well-being and mental health issues within performing arts. It's a fascinating conversation. What would you say a healthy performing artist looks like, and how do you set boundaries for yourself? For example, when you're just starting out, you might need to say yes to everything because you don't want to turn anything down.
Respectfully, I'm going to disagree with that last part.
Interesting.
Good, I think you don't have to. A healthy performer, what does a healthy human being look like, right? So I think understanding your craft, understanding what's required is really important. And for me, one of the core things, or two core things in performing arts, is this enmeshment of your identity with your job. So I am my own craft. If I go to the audition and I don't get a role, then there is something wrong with me. It kind of erodes my self-worth. This is a big problem for stage performers. So I think working specifically on disentangling, this is my craft, this is my art, I love it, I'm committed, it's my calling, it's my passion. But like a doctor or a surgeon, I don't know, you have your passion, or me, psychologist, and I was guilty of it to begin with, I was so enmeshed in my profession. But now if you ask me, who are you? I will say I'm a wild swimmer, I love running, I'm a mother to a performing artist, right? I'm a partner, I'm a bad cook, I will say a lot of different things, but it won't be just I'm a psychologist and I have nothing else. So I think developing a healthy performer is developing a healthy human being for whom, they have their art, they have their core profession, but they have other things. And this links with this isolation of the profession and unsociable hours that we were talking about. Building links outside of the profession is really important, so that you are not kind of enmeshed in this sometimes unhealthy ecosystem all the time. But you have friends outside, you have connections. Again, it's very difficult. I recognize it. And I've heard so many people saying, I've never dated outside my industry, or I don't have any friends. I didn't know it all existed,
Oh, gosh.
I heard one opera singer saying, I never knew all those things, like, oh my gosh, dating a business person with such a revelation.
Wow.
You know, it's a different world, all right?
Yeah.
And yet you need those connections with different environments for your own creativity. So I think it's important, and because I'm recognizing it, I'm really passionate about creating kind of community within online kind of platform as well. So that's this. There is so much more, if I can say a few more things. So identity is one thing. The other thing is perfectionism. Perfectionism is such a big thing in performing arts. In some forms of art, much more than others. Like I think, you know, for dancers or singers or pianists or somebody like that, that might be a bigger problem. So learning that imperfection action, regular imperfection action, will take you further rather than waiting to perfect, I don't know, one note or one page of your script if you are a writer or somebody like that, right? This is really important, being bold and taking imperfect action. And when I work with performers, they resist, but I often say, you know, let's do something imperfectly. And to break down this barrier, I often introduce this neuroscience-based exercise, which is about walking backwards. You know, because it really kind of helps with your neuronal connections in your brain to work in a different way, to think about things in a different way, and it trains different muscles in your body, so it's all good. But I think perfectionism is also a very big thing, so if we can tackle those two things and make people more aware, that's really important. The next one is obviously building a very healthy routine for yourself. Knowing, and that comes back to boundaries and saying no. I will not agree to another rehearsal unless I've had a 10-hour break and I could have a good sleep, good meal, you know, good mental break. So sleep hygiene, nourishment, exercise, very important, but also having almost like a ritual to have a mental break from your character or your role or your whatever you are doing, and having a completely different activity that engages you and in which you are so immersed you can't think about it. I think if you start without a clear vision, it doesn't have to be a very defined vision, but where am I heading? What's my end goal? How do I see myself in 10, 15 years? Then it's easier to figure out, you know, like, okay, so I'm getting this opportunity and this and this. Do they bring me closer to my vision, or do they actually create a diversion? Okay, so if it's a diversion or something that is not going necessarily to take me further where I want to be, it's easier to say no. So your why am I doing it, and where am I heading? What do I want to how do I imagine myself? Will make creating this boundary easier. Also, boundary is all about saying certain things in a certain way. So people don't like a word no, a bit of psychology here, right? So you can practice saying yes, and if you can send me the schedule of rehearsal, then yes. Or you can say yes, if we sign an agreement, my role is very specified there and I have my fee listed there. Okay, I love this project and I would love to be involved, but I have something else going on at the same time. So please keep me posted or keep me in mind for future opportunities. So we can reframe no to sound like a yes, and it can be done in a professional, collaborative way, which kind of keeps the door open. So I think if you master those things, and again, it's a practice. Nobody is born knowing how to assert boundaries. Yes, when we are 2 years old, we practice no, right? But after that, we actually kind of forget about it, and we are inculcated to other ways of being and saying yes. So if you have a vision, and if you know you have to practice it like a muscle in the gym, you will be fine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it also puts the onus back on the other person then to do the thing that made them want you in the first place.
And I actually think that drama schools and music schools and other training centers should really deliver workshops on this.
I agree with you.
How to practice those boundaries, how to practice saying no, or from psychological perspective I would say yes and yes if.
And how to budget and how to do all of those things as well. I fully agree with you.
And I think also sitting yourself down and thinking, what are my limits, what are my minimum boundaries. For instance, for a lot of performers, I say, I will not work for publicity for free, okay? Or I will not work unless I had a 10-hour break between rehearsal and the show, right? Or if you are, for example, a circus artist, I will not perform those stunts unless I had the right training and there are safety measures in place, right? So I think you need to have those minimum standards or minimum boundaries very clearly set in your mind, so that, you know, so that's the baseline, and then you start building the muscle.
And in terms of resilience then, is there any preparation or training that can be undertaken in order to build resilience in preparation?
Absolutely, and psychology is such a wonderful field where we can draw from already established practices. So there are different things. Resilience is actually quite a broad concept. So you have things that you can do before the show, so auditions or rehearsals. There are things you can do during, when you are actually on stage. And there are really important things that you should be doing after. So the toolkit of practices that will help you and will sustain you on your long-term career doesn't take long. It can be just a few minutes a day, but it has to be done regularly. Okay, so for those neural pathways to be created in our brain. It's such a vast field, but just broadly speaking, we can use cognitive behavioral therapy to reframe certain things, and I can give you some examples. There is mindfulness and body-based practices that are really important for those rituals, especially prior to going on stage and sometimes being on stage as well. There are debrief strategies, and there's so much in there, you know, like how we set our goals, how we reframe things, the rituals that we can use. But again, if you try to use something when you are already under stress or anxious and on stage, it's not going to work. But if you practiced a few times in either lower stakes situations or just in your practice, then it will be much easier to call upon it when you are stressed on stage. Okay, so obviously we can also process past traumas, and again, artists hate when I say trauma. They don't believe there is trauma in the performing world. Would you believe that? But actually, I think, you know, all those rejections, humiliations, criticism, that can be hugely traumatic. So that can be processed with therapies like EMDR. So there is a lot we can do, and we can build that practice. And I also say, you know, those exercises, and they have to be tailored individually to the individual performer, like I said, to their formulation of where they are, how those problems evolved and what maintains them. So we can individualize those exercises, and then they keep practicing them. And I say, you know, to make it the easiest possible and not burden on something that extra that you have to do, you just do it a moment before, you know, en route to work or on the way home. And it's easier to remember this. I could be talking hours about it, and there are specific things, but I think we don't.
No, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. We are keeping you with us, Dr. Maja, and we'll be back just after this. A world without the arts is one without confidence, creativity, and community, and yet funding has been reduced every year. Arts programs have been shown to benefit social inclusion and well-being, particularly for marginalised groups, with projects fostering a sense of belonging, cultivating mutual understanding, and breaking down social barriers and isolation. Participation in arts programs can help boost confidence and open doors to opportunities that may otherwise be inaccessible. Click Arts Foundation offers grants up to £2,000 for grassroots arts projects twice a year, with our community arts experience trustees meticulously scoring each project on impact and sustainability. To date, we have supported craft and visual arts projects, dance, drumming for well-being, and preservation of heritage and culture. If you share our passion, not just for maintaining the arts themselves, but contributing to the many benefits it can bring, please consider making a donation to Click Arts Foundation registered charity. Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours. We're here with Dr. Maja, and we're talking about this the unique needs of performing artists. And you've really given us an amazing insight into the amount of mental health struggles that performers face, which are not voiced, which means that either performers normalise them, or we just don't even think that they have all of these extra issues.
I think it's both. And I often post on Instagram, and I do like tips and other things for performers from psychological perspective, obviously. And I never get any comments, okay? But they will reach out in DMs, or they will send me a private email, because people do not want. There is still a lot of stigma around it, and people don't want to mention, or they don't want to be known for having mental health problems. The landscape is changing, and we have some high-profile advocates, obviously speaking up about it openly. But actually, it is a big problem, and there is also this problem of people thinking, well, I don't want to be seen as somebody who is weak or requiring therapy, because this might impact my employability. The directors might think, oh, I don't want a problem. I don't want somebody who will take breaks for their mental health, or go off sick or something like that. So it is still a big problem. It is changing. I think younger generation is more open to this, but we need to do a bit more around this, both in terms of systems that we provide and support that we provide, and open conversations about it. So
I think there's another issue, though, which I wanted to raise with you, because you are a psychologist. You have the training in psychology. What we're seeing a lot of at the moment is people who have training in the arts.
Yes.
They are dancers, they're musicians, they're singers, they're actresses, actors. It's not just female or anything like that. But because they're struggling on getting jobs in the field that they really want to be in, what they're doing is they are doing art for mental health, music for mental health. Now, not only are they going to have their own issues to deal with, but they're not necessarily trained in mental health.
Yes, absolutely. That's a big problem from my perspective. And I don't want to sound critical of anyone or anything like that, but I've seen so many people, and some of them do train, but the training is very limited.
Yes.
So, for instance, somebody might just take one-year master's in performance psychology and call themselves an expert in performance psychology. I don't think you are an expert after 1 year, and definitely you are not an expert to treat people clinically.
Yes.
You have the tools around maybe performance stuff, but not necessarily kind of deeper clinical
coaching
stuff.
maybe, but
yes,
not.
That's it. And then there is a lot of people who just think it's easy. I'll do, I don't know, dance for depression.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you do that? You cannot do that. And I think it's dangerous, not only for the clients, but also for themselves.
Yes.
Because they might find themselves in very murky waters when they don't know how to deal with situations that come up. They don't have the right structure. They don't have the right support. And it can be really devastating. People can become re-traumatized, but also you as a practitioner can experience vicarious trauma, or spiral down with your own mental health. So I think there isn't enough awareness around it, and it has become, I see daily, people posting that they are coaching, or they are offering this program or that program, and they really don't have the right qualifications and the right support systems. So for me, the distinction is between doing art for well-being, for sense of connection, for building a connection with other people, for self-expression, enjoyment, right? And there is such a great value in this, and I love it, and I participate in it myself. But as soon as somebody says they are doing specific art form for, diagnosable mental health condition, this is a no-no for me. There is a very clear distinction for me, but I don't think there is a clear distinction for people in the public.
Yes,
exactly.
And that needs to be made more actually raised awareness on, because It used to be drama therapists, music therapists, art therapists. There's about 4 different universities in the UK, that's it, 4, who have accredited courses in those particular things that give you the right to call yourself a drama therapist, an art therapist, which shows there's a whole clinical aspect in this, which cannot be taught in an overnight coaching course.
And it's not a 1-week training, it's a proper lengthy study with a research project and with all the clinical skills. So I think when you have the right qualifications and you have your supervision in place and you have your public liability insurance and you have all the right structures and you have the protocol and your participants know what they are getting into, you've explained, you have obtained consent, you know, you have all the right structures. Perfect. You can then say, I'm doing music therapy and, I work with those people as well, and sometimes I supervise some of them as well clinically. So you can say, you know, I'm a music therapist and I deal with depression through music.
Because it's an actual skill. It's a medium.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's a medium as a clinician, not I'm an artist and I'm using clinical practice. It's I'm a clinician, that is my medium with which I work.
Totally. And I just want to say this because for me the distinction is also, if I'm an artist, and I think a lot of us are, okay, so if I'm an artist, what am I training to do? I'm training with my technique, my craft, my my communication style through my art, right? My art might communicate something really dark or something really traumatic, or it might be provocation, or it might be challenging. We've seen those pieces of art. So this is to evoke reflection, to challenge people, to do all kinds of different things. It's not to treat people's mental health, right? And it's also totally not okay to even think in this way. So I've been to art exhibitions or installations which affected me profoundly, right? I left feeling a bit down, or you know, some people might leave a show or something even traumatized. For instance, as a psychologist, I consult on shows or scripts, you know, to make sure that they are represented sensitively and the characters are represented well. But also there is kind of the whole, you know, are we doing it okay? Have we put enough precautions so that we don't traumatize the audience? So, for instance, recently I consulted on a new British musical called The Unfolding. It's just literally now on in Cambridge. By the time this interview will be out, you know, it will be over. But yeah, so the director asked me to consult on the themes of suicide and trauma, and that's ethical practice, right? Yes. But a lot of people don't do that. And that's the problem.
I think that kind of sort of answers my next question, which is how do we protect both industries then?
I think a lot of it is about awareness and language. So on a very kind of simple, basic level, you know, how you invite people, you can invite people to dance, and it can be optional, and you can say, if you wish to take part or join us in this movement, please do. If not, feel free to sit down. So there is no pressure. You are not directing them. You are not saying express your anger from your body, right? You are just saying go with your movement and be curious what comes up, right? You also have to be prepared, very prepared. So apart from things that we said, like public insurance, liability insurance, you know, supervision structures and all of that, have the resources, local resources. Where can I, you know, listen to somebody who maybe is expressing distress to you, be a good listener, and then signpost them, refer them. Okay, you can go to this organization, or there is a list of counselors or therapists in your area. You know, work within your boundary. Signpost, I can tell you what's out there, I can suggest some things, but I will not treat you. And have this disclaimer, this is not mental health therapy, okay? So I think those things are really important, but on a more kind of bigger, more systemic level, I think we need to have better training, better understanding. The profession needs to be regulated, and there has to be supervision and other things in place. So we have a lot of or some training going on in training institutions like drama schools and music schools, like we said. But then we can also kind of bridge between, so we can bridge the art with the art for well-being, with therapy. We can all collaborate. And when it's clear, so for me it's clarity, who does what,
who does which bit,
and for
yes,
what
I can
purpose.
signpost you to that drama therapist, yes.
And actually it can work really well in collaboration. So for instance, I've done multiple projects in collaboration with Mind. The projects were my creative ideas, and I collaborated on the most recent one was with a performing artist who is also a dancer, and it was a theatrical performance. Brilliant. And I did all the psychology, and she helped with the body movement, choreography, music, filming, and all of that. There is a little book out of
wow.
it.
Fantastic! I love that.
So we even filmed in the swimming pool.
Oh, wow!
And participants also wrote little poems and stories.
Amazing!
So you know,
fantastic.
you can collaborate. You can really
Beautiful.
collaborate and do different things like that.
So that's taking, you know, responsibility
Yes.
and coming at it from both sides. You know, having somebody like yourself on board with a creative project.
This is brilliant.
It's lovely.
This is really lovely. Beautiful.
That's
book.
really great.
Oh.
Goodness. So how do you see and how do you hope that awareness can be raised going forward with the issue of mental health?
We
started.
So that's great. I think, you know, the more we talk about it, the more it's in the public eye, the better. I think we do need more people like me interested in this training, collaborating, providing therapy, thinking about, you know, structures, because at the moment there is some help, but it's quite patchy, and I think some artists get more help than others, and it's also to do with where you are based.
That's
so you
mental
might
health
get
all over.
a lottery, postcode
Yes.
lottery. You might get more help in London than outside London, right? So it's patchy. We need more systemic help, and we need more help. And that's what I'm so passionate about. That's why I'm creating my program as well.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Your passion really shines through. Where can we learn more about you?
So I'm on Instagram, Dr Maja Jankowska, difficult surname, but
I've already pronounced it wrongly, so
you can link to it.
All right.
I'm on LinkedIn, Dr Maja Jankowska, and I also have a website called expansionpsychology.com, because I'm all about expansion and growth in terms of, you know, post-traumatic growth and spiritual, personal, professional growth. I'm very passionate about this, so that's why I called my website Expansion Psychology. But there is a section there specifically for performing artists.
we are keeping Dr. Maja for our Test the Trend segment, and we'll head right over there now. It's a very special Test the Trend, very excited about this. Dr. Maja, please tell us about your own experiences with the arts and things that we can try.
Okay, so I'm being told by my clients that I'm super creative, and they sometimes think it's bonkers, but it does work. So I use a lot of creativity in my work as well. I also, like I said, I've had this project that we talked about earlier. The other project was writing actually bilingual stories. This is a story that my daughter wrote many years ago. They are bilingual, and I did actually research on how becoming a very young published author of a bilingual book raises your self-esteem. So that was a very interesting project. I did also another, I think, you know, I'm very passionate about diversity and other languages. Myself, I spoke 5 languages at some point.
Wow.
No longer very fluent in them, but I love this. So stories have been written. These are the stories of recovery, mental health recovery, in 2 languages from service users.
Amazing.
So I've done projects like that. But in terms of your own practice, because I'm so geeky about neuroscience and I love thinking, you know, about my own neural pathways in my brain, so I'm always on the lookout for art that can enhance my brain. So there is a very new art form which is rooted in psychology, created by a Russian psychologist, Paweł Piskar, I think his surname is. It's called Neurographica. Okay.
And this is what we've got here.
Yes. So this is
amazing.
just an example.
Right.
So shall I?
Yeah.
I'll talk you through very briefly. So Neurographica is a science-based art when you start drawing lines in a very particular way. So maybe I'll show you a sketch of something else where you start. Okay. So something like that.
Okay.
It looks really weird.
Yeah.
Okay? But from that, you can get to something like that.
Wow.
Okay. So we trace lines, but we do them in a particular way. Do you remember how I told you about going backwards?
Yes.
Right? So this is a little bit like that. You start drawing a line, but you are conscious where your hand wants to go, and you go different direction. Or you do a different kind of twist or turn or something like that. And at some point, those lines start crossing. So can you see I started rounding here?
Yes.
Okay. So our brain associates edges with sharpness, with trauma, with difficulty, okay? So when we start rounding, it becomes more pleasant for your brain, okay? So you can use Neurographica in many different ways, but you can think of a specific problem, like for instance, oh, I don't have a job, right? And start drawing around that with that intention to resolve that.
Beautiful. So give that a go, Neurographica. We will be back after this.
Our passion for coffee goes way beyond the cup. We believe in a fair production chain in which each coffee farmer plays an essential role. We are proud to support our communities and promote environmental sustainability. Bedford Coffee Roasters guarantees an exceptional experience for producers and consumers. Join us on our journey to extraordinary coffee, where quality, sustainability and fairness come together to create an experience unlike any other. Ground with passion, served with pride, Bedford Coffee Roasters, coffee worth drinking.
Wow, Dr. Maja, this has been such an interesting and enlightening conversation, because we just don't realise what a performing artist is going through, and for you to have broken it down in that way, to really understand the amount of pressure that they're put under, not just with their own craft, but within the industry, and then the external pressures, the unsociable, all of those different things.
Yes, there's so much to it.
You do begin to recognise there's a lot more than just resilience needed in there.
Oh, definitely much more.
Huge. And what sort of struck you?
I think, I have heard, because I've got friends in the performing arts, especially musicians, and, people have said to them, well, just go and do something else if you're struggling. And, we were both teachers, and teaching's not easy. And at some points, family and friends have said to me, oh, just leave, which I have done eventually. But at the time, I wasn't able to. And it's so annoying that the go-to thing isn't, okay, how do we get around the problems? But, just leave it then. Yeah. Because otherwise, how is it ever going to improve in the performing arts world?
And it really puts the onus on you, and it makes you feel like there is something wrong with me. I am the source, I'm the reason, I have to leave. It's never really about, but the system has to change.
Exactly. And if people are just leaving it because it's hard, I didn't leave teaching because it was hard, then those issues that make it hard are never going to be addressed or worked out.
But also, I think with music or arts in general, there is a difference that people need to make a mindset shift. It's not just a hobby for some people.
Yes.
You can't just go and play the piano in your spare time and you'll be fine. If there's a concert pianist in that person who is phenomenal, how can you say, oh, don't do that skill? It comes back to your brain surgeon.
That would be absolutely devastating for that person, and and I hope people could say less of those things and really think about how do we support performance.
So that actually brings me to how we need to end this show. What advice would you give us to say to support a friend in performing arts?
Well, I would say definitely go and buy tickets. A lot of people think, oh, sneak me in for free, or I don't know. It's really important to go and support artists. It's really important to turn off your phone. I was recently in a phenomenal, very, very difficult emotionally show, again in the West End in London, and the number of times the phone went off, and I was just thinking, my God, it's terrible. And actually the main actress at the end of it said, you know, I feel like crying, I'm getting emotional, because she was honestly saying, like, from her heart, it's so difficult already, please don't make it more difficult for us. So yeah, it really hit me. I think it's really important to just support them, to think about creating those structures, to talk about it more, to signpost people, to encourage them to seek out help. Yeah.
Well, thank you, and you've made such amazing headway with the work that you're doing as well, Dr. Maja, and thank you for coming on the show to make that point so clear. From all of us here in Mental Health Matters, good night.